Hello, guys. Welcome to Football Fandom UK's. Welcome to the show. We're here tonight for a special show. We're debating the Arsenal taking on Manchester City at the Etihad, and we've got Rich Post Sports joining us from to debate this with us. Hopefully, you guys will also get involved in the chat. We will give you guys some involvement as well. But our special guest tonight, as I say, is Richard from Rich Post Sports. If you guys want to check out his channel, the link is down at the bottom, and you guys can go over and check that out and see what he's been uploading on his channel. The kind of stuff he does is all football, as well as some other sports mixed in as well. So I'm sure that will be interesting for you guys if you want to check that out. As I say, the link is in the description below, so you can guys can just go down the description and click that link and find his channel very easily. So Rich Post Sports, welcome to the show, mate.
Greetings, guys. Greetings, football fandom community. I've been fighting the old hay fever, as you know. To those who don't know, it's that kind of time. It's that time again. I've got the antihistamines. I've got my little honey and lemon with hot water. I'm bearing up. I've taken my shower. I've worked up a sweat, and I'm ready to get it on because we don't get along, guys. I'm ready to take on all comers. And as a proud Arsenal FC fan, I am delighted to be here on Football Fandom to discuss this, what could be described as a title describer and a decider. Let's get it on, guys, because we don't get along. Rumble, young man, rumble.
Well, as you can tell, guys, Rich Post Sports in high spirits, and his gimmicks already coming to fruition at the start of the show, as he is indicating. We don't get along, but that's with regards to Manchester City and Arsenal, I presume, because me and Rich Post Sports do get along. So don't take that the wrong way, guys. So I just take the moment to explain what he's meaning there. But yes, guys, we were going to be debating the upcoming game, Manchester City taking on Arsenal. I have some stats for you guys as well that I'll be sharing during the course of the show, particularly the previous game where Arsenal played Manchester City in the fourth round of the FA Cup. So there will be some stats coming up on the screen very shortly for you guys to check that out. We will also be involving you guys in the chat as well. As I can see, some regular members of the Fandom community are already early in the show in the chat. And just quickly, guys, just to apologise for the lateness of the show. This show has been planned on very short notice and has actually caused me a lot of problems to get prepared for it with less than 24 hours. So we're going to do the best we can, though. We're going to debate it. We're going to analyse it. We're going to give it everything we can. And we're also going to, as I say, guys, we're going to involve you guys in the chat. So first of all, Rich Bo, obviously, welcome to the show. As I say, first of all, what do you make of Arsenal's recent run of the results? Obviously, a number of draws the last three games, drawing 3-3 the other day with Southampton, obviously 3-3, 2-2 away at West Ham and 2-2 away at Liverpool. And also going back a few games before that, you guys lost at Everton as well. So these kind of results at the late stage of the season, are they concerning for you going into this game?
In a word, possibly. Quite possibly. I think you've hit the nail on the head, and many pundits out there have hit the nail on the head. The likes of Stevie Nicol, Ali Moreno of ESPN Sports, two of my favorite pundits. This is the business end, quote unquote, of the season. Every game matters in a 38-game Premier League season. But we know that Manchester City, under Pep Guardiola, are capable of making the runs, unbeaten runs, winning runs, when it gets to the business last 10 or so games of a season. This Arsenal team, let me be crystal clear, Gaz, viewers and subscribers, this Arsenal team has been built upon from last season, but it's last season, which seems a world away, where Arsenal fans such as myself were, for the first time in decades, genuinely contemplating, bringing into our lexicon that word, relegation and relegation fight. Last season, we opened our campaign against Brentford, newcomers to the Premier League, and we were handed a comprehensive beating without a goal scored. Brentford gave us a portent of what was to come last season. At the start of the season, even mid-season, what Arsenal showed then was that fighting spirit, that resolve, that class, that determination, that hunger, that ability. And it brought them within a hair's breadth of Champions League football last season. However, I remember well the likes of Spurs, Newcastle, maybe even Southampton, Newcastle, Spurs, yeah. And they did for us last year. We were on the cusp. We lost our last 3 games. And we were soundly beaten into 5th place by our arch rivals, Spurs. This season, this team is ahead of schedule. It's been a golden season for Arsenal. No Premier League battle drama. It's been a two-way tussle with Manchester City finding their form, which they didn't seem to have in the early part of the season. This has been a stellar campaign as far as this Arsenal fan is concerned, a stellar campaign by this team, which in my opinion would have been delighted with Champions League football. To find themselves 5 points ahead of Manchester City, comfortably in the top 2, and still with a chance of lifting the Premier League title. Still, it's not over. The fat lady has not sung. I, as an Arsenal fan, am extremely proud of this team, ahead of the curve, ahead of schedule, playing wonderfully well. Yes, they did lose. Those games you mentioned, Gaz, you were spot on. And they stand out for a reason, because for the most of this season, Arsenal have been entertaining and peddling with wins, the occasional draw, but win after win after win. It's been an outstanding season. Everton loss, newly appointed Sean Dyche at Everton. That new manager bounce did for us at Goodison. Man United took a 3-1 victory over us when we showed them how to play football at Old Trafford. We then entered those 3 games, not including the 3-1 loss at the Emirates, at the hands of this outstanding Manchester City team, with the likes of Haaland, De Bruyne, Rodri, Stones, Grealish. It's a who's who of the Premier League and footballing world. But these last 3 draws, in the Reason Boss's opinion, suggests that this young team, yes, young, relatively young, is feeling the heat, feeling the pressure, not playing that fancy, carefree football. I describe them, Gaz, viewers and subscribers, Milzord, Joey, Michael, anyone out there, where's Mini Moo? I describe this Arsenal team as a mountain climber, a group of mountain climbers, new mountain climbers, climbing high with the greatest ease, excelling themselves. And then they look behind and look down. They catch a little vertigo. Wow, have we come so far? Wow, us? Wow, I thought this was meant to be harder. When you have a 2-0 lead at West Ham, a 2-0 lead away at Liverpool, you seemingly are in control. And this is meant to be the hard part of the season. I think they caught their little bit of vertigo. The game against Southampton at the Emirates, highly unusual. And yet still, they fought back. A couple of minutes to go, I followed it on Football Fan then. 3-1 down. It takes a special kind of team with a special kind of resolve and a special kind of ability to pull 2 goals back and still press for a winner after the most torrid of starts. I, Gaz, am a proud Arsenal fan, and it is not yet done. I will be that 12th man to stand by this Arsenal team through thick and thin. Win, lose or draw at the Emirates, this team has done themselves proud, but there's still twists and turns, drama and history yet to be written. Gaz, the floor is yours. Come on, chump.
Well, I'm going to pick up on a few things. Obviously, one or two things you said in that. But before I do, Richard, before we get deeper into the debate, I just want to welcome some of the fans in the chat. As you know, we always try to keep fans involved on football fan. Then, so I'm just going to quickly, not go too mad, but just quickly welcome some of the regulars to the show. We've got Milzard saying hi. Welcome, Milzard. Pleasure to have you with us as always, mate. Great to see you. And I can see you've also been chatting with Richard, Rich Post Sports, before I actually got to start the show. And apologies again, guys, for that. As you guys know, I'm trying to struggle at the minute with a balance of my normal job and keeping going with a channel. Michael Harris also dropping in. Welcome to the show, Michael. And always great to see you as well, mate. And Milzard quickly saying here, nearly some profile picture. I'm presuming that's regards to the thumbnail in the chat on the channel, because obviously a little bit different to what we've been doing over the last couple of months. A lot of match watch alongs to obviously get the consistency going on the channel. So thank you very much for that, Milzard. Evan Ruddock also dropping in to say hi. Welcome to the show, Evan. Great to have you with us, mate. A lot of regular Fandom members of the Fandom community dropping in and saying hello to each other as well, as always. Top class from you guys. So thank you very much for that, Evan, and also Milzard, Michael, and Rich Post Sports also been in the chat nice and early there to welcome some of you guys with regards to joining the show. So I'm just going to skip past some of those comments so we can get into the debate. Nat also saying, good evening, how's it going, Nat? Welcome to the show. Pleasure, as always, to have you with us, mate. As I say, we are going to get into the debate in a minute, deeper into the debate, should I say, in a moment. Just quickly wanting to welcome you guys that come on the show regular and get involved in the Fandom community. And as I say, I can see lots of you guys saying hi and welcoming each other, which is top class. But obviously, we haven't got to the time today with the debate that we're going to get into to read out absolutely every comment, which I hope you guys understand. But as you know, when we do get back to live streams, I will certainly give you guys your comments a lot more serious attention. But we will still be involving you tonight, guys. So we still want you to drop your comments in, but we want your comments a bit more specific tonight to do with this actual debate. So thank you very much for that, guys. Milzard saying, obviously asking how's your day been. I presume that was for you, Rich Poe Sports, as he was talking to you earlier on in the show. Nat also said, right, he was speaking to Nat. So apologies, guys. I'm just getting with it. Very much rushed planning tonight, as I say. So, yeah, I'm just going to skip some of these comments. Jack also joining us, Jack Ludlam. Welcome to the show, Jack. Jack also saying, already so happy I made the stream, pal. Gutted I didn't make yesterday's. Yes, I saw you left a comment on Jack. Apologies. I haven't had time to reply to that. But as I say, most of my attention today, or at least my free time, any free time I've had today, has been in preparation for this show. So not a problem, Jack. As I always tell you guys, I totally understand you guys have other things on. And like I say, no reason for you guys to apologize when you can't make every show. Jack's also saying a welcome there to Milzard. So nice one, guys. As always, great to see you guys making the effort to welcome each other. And I think we've seen everybody come in and chat, and we can see that Joey has also joined. Joey saying, hi, guys. Mate, hope you're well. Welcome, Rich Paul. Sorry, can't chat loads at the minute. Stuck in traffic, but listening. No worries, Joey. Always great to have you with us, mate, and hopefully you get home safely as you're obviously driving home. But always a pleasure to have you with us, mate. And so, like I say, hopefully when you get home, you'll be able to add your comments and your thoughts to what you hear whilst driving home with the debate that me and Richard are having. And just finally, Milzard saying, okay, Joey, no worries. Nice one, Milzard. A pleasure to have you with us, as always, as I say. So, guys, we're going to get into the debate, but I'm just going to bring up, so just bear with me a second. I'm just going to bring up some information that I have prepared for this show. First of all, obviously, with regards to Arsenal, we're gonna get into that in a second, but we're gonna quickly share with you guys on the screen the previous lineup from what's going on here. There we go. The previous lineup from the FA Cup game. So, Mills, I'm just going to remove your comment so we can see that. Now, that is the Manchester City lineup from the FA Cup fourth round game played with Arsenal how long was that? About 2 months ago or something, that, Richard? That game?
Roughly, maybe a little longer, but yeah, time flies when you're having fun as an Arsenal fan. Even though we'd lost that game.
Yeah, but it was still a tight game, and obviously different competition. But as we can see, with a 1-0 result for Manchester City, you guys deserve some credit to go to the Etihad and keep Manchester City at bay and only conceding 1 goal, in my opinion, because, as I say, Manchester City, and I'm sure all the regular fandom community agree, we all know how strong Manchester City normally are at the Etihad. But like I say, you guys can clearly see that on the screen there. So just bear me a second because I can't actually see that because it's too small. So I'm just going to try and find, well, it's not coming up. So this is the problem with rushing. But yes, let me have a look. Obviously, Man City, they're going with the traditional 4-3-3 formation that they use regularly at home. So they may have some changes. But one thing I noticed from the Arsenal lineup, which we'll get to shortly because I've also edited that ready in preparation, the big noticeable difference that is going to obviously could be a massive help for Arsenal with that game being so tight and Arsenal losing it 1-0. But the big noticeable thing from that game was that Arsenal was missing Gabriel Jesus. So, Richbo, I want to ask you, do you think he will make that difference in this game coming up? Obviously, as I say, he was still in the process of recovering from that long-term injury when you took on Manchester City in the FA Cup, and you managed to keep Manchester City's score, or should I say Manchester City, to a minimum of only conceding 1 goal. Obviously, you guys didn't score yourselves, but that could be put down to you missing your most important forward player, which was Gabriel Jesus. Do you think, Richbo, that he is going to be the difference in this game to help you guys actually compete with regards to scoring goals?
I certainly hope that's the case, Gaz. I certainly hope that will be the case. Gabriel Jesus, of course, a member of the Seleção, the Brazilian team that went to Qatar 2022, former Man City striker, very versatile. I wouldn't describe Gabriel hand on heart as a killer, dead shot striker. What he offers to the Arsenal team, what he offered to Man City was a lot of mobility, flexibility, hard work, an eye for a pass, occupying opponents and creating opportunities for himself and others. He is a class, experienced player compared to the likes of Eddie Nketiah. And he has a very, very good working relationship on the pitch, on that left-hand flank, interchanging with Gabriel Martinelli, his fellow Brazilian. So I think he's going to be a valuable addition to this game. And I'm certainly hoping that Martinelli and Jesus will bring their A game. They will need it.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. And like I say, the reason I'm making the noticeable difference, the reason I'm acknowledging and pointing out about you guys missing Gabriel Jesus in that game in the FA Cup against Manchester City is because he has been absolutely awesome for Arsenal, I think, since he moved to you guys. And obviously being a former Manchester City player, and with you guys battling right at the top of the league against Manchester City, maybe you might have a point to prove returning to the Etihad for that game. Obviously missed the FA Cup game, which I'm sure he was very frustrated to be missing that game because, as you know, Richard, a lot of players sometimes when they feel that the club that they previously left how can I put it with respect, didn't give them the consideration or the game time that they felt they deserved. Obviously, Gabriel Jesus is a quality striker, but Pep Guardiola, when he was at Manchester City, used him sparingly. Would you agree?
I would for the most part. I think that he got his due props at Manchester City. Of course, when you're in a team and a strength of depth squad such as Man City, you're not going to be guaranteed games. Of course, the outstanding, great, legendary Sergio Aguero was leading the attack for Manchester City. They also are famed for their interplay. So the likes of David Silva being available, interchanging. Kevin De Bruyne, I mean, what a wonderful, outstanding player he is. They've won Premier League titles and have pressed for Champions League trophies by not engaging an out-and-out striker. Gabriel Jesus was not prolific, but he could prove a very good addition to Manchester City and Arsenal. And he did perform well. You don't play for a team like Manchester City without having something about you. He already got chosen for the Brazilian national team, where he hasn't shone, it must be said. But for Manchester City, I think that because of his good work with Manchester City, I think that, you know, when he said he wanted more game time, wanted to be a first teamer, I think the opportunity when it arose to transfer to Arsenal was one that Pep gave with his blessings and the respect of the Manchester City players, because he is a quality forward. He's off the ball play, interchanging with his colleagues, picking passes and making life difficult for the opposition, buzzing around and then turning up like a fox in the box. He can put away chances, and he scored some pretty big goals for Manchester City. So I would say he was a loss, not a major loss in the likes of, and compared to Aguero, hard boots to fill. But Arsenal certainly are delighted to have him in our squad.
Yeah, but sorry to interrupt, but I just want to pick up what I was meaning. And maybe I didn't describe it the best. What I'm trying to get at is, with him not getting the game time that he felt he deserved at Manchester City. And obviously, I remember when he was at Manchester City, there was a lot of comparisons. And like you say, when he's competing with such a top striker like he was, he may feel that he didn't get a good enough run of games to prove himself. As we say, he was competing with Aguero, which, as we all know, is an unbelievable striker, Aguero. And it's, it'd be a foolish manager to drop Aguero for a young player like Jesus. But the point, what I'm saying is, we saw what Jesus could bring. He brought a different element. And he can also be played, I feel that he can also be played on the wing because he's young and he's got that pace to burn. When you're young like he is, especially when he was at Manchester City, he was a couple of years younger than he is now. He had pace to burn, and maybe he felt that that Guardiola was stuck in his own ideas of how he was going to play the formation, and expecting Gabriel Jesus to fit in to that formation rather than Guardiola actually changing the formation to suit Aguero and Jesus playing alongside each other. Now, obviously, like I say, I'm going to come back to you in a second. I just want to point out and stress the point that he may feel that he didn't get that consistent run of games to actually find his best form. And that would also have a knock-on effect to playing for the national team if he felt that 1 week he's getting played, then he's getting dropped, then he's getting played. Now, he did get a bit of a run of games. I have to acknowledge that. He did get a slight run of games when Aguero was injured. But even still, he was still being changed. Guardiola was preferring, there was a spell where Guardiola was preferring to play with no striker rather than playing Jesus. And like I say, as a player, you don't know what people are, his advisors, as we know, these top players have got a lot of people around them telling them this, telling them that, you should be playing. And if people are in his ears saying, you need to move, you're not going to achieve your best, you're not going to get respect off Guardiola to be considered as the main man for Manchester City. That is why I'm touching on the point. Maybe he feels that he has a point to prove. And I would stress that point simply because when he came to Arsenal, when he came to the Gunners, he started off like a house on fire, like he had a point to prove. Over to you, Richard.
I hear where you're coming from, Gaz. I hear where you're coming from. By the way, thanks very much to Football Fan Den for inviting me on the show, and full respects to the Fan Den community. Full of respect and pretty knowledgeable when it comes to football, serving the community with dignity and respect. Jesus served Manchester City with dignity and respect. But if I want to call a spade, Jesus, when it comes to representing, as well as other players, Mahrez, Grealish, Phil Foden, these are players, Rodri, Laporte, these are players that would, Gundogan, the list goes on, at Manchester City, worth their weight in gold, would be first team players in most teams without question or hesitation. When you represent Man City under the tutelage and guidance of Pep Guardiola, you may not be a certain starter. Kevin De Bruyne, legend, has to find himself on the bench and watching the game, prepared to come on if needs be. Jesus was not guaranteed a start every game or every other game or a run of 10 games. There's no guaranteed. You've got to be prepared to come on and do your part and play your part as and when. It's the gaffer's call, and the gaffer called it as he saw it. And of course, it resulted in the lifting of Premier League titles. They fell short when it came to the Champions League, but they're still knocking at the door. You were quite right, Gaz. Jesus made a wonderful start to Arsenal, made a distinct impression with his experience, his excitement, enthusiasm, energy, and goal-scoring prowess. However, let's be crystal clear, that goal-scoring prowess, not his wing play, not his exuberance and energy. Pep wanted him ostensibly as a striker or to carry out whatever task he wanted. At Arsenal, he is required to score goals. He's required to score goals and to provide assists and opportunities for his colleagues. The goals did dry up. The goals, I repeat, did dry up. What didn't dry up was his creativity, his energy, his enthusiasm, his impact on the levels of confidence within the Arsenal ranks. And he was providing opportunities for his colleagues. Saka benefiting, Odegaard benefiting, Martinelli benefiting. There's pros and cons, and what I can say about Jesus, which is a real testimony to his impact at Arsenal, is that even when he was not scoring, he was one of the first names on the team sheet. That's what he's brought to the Arsenal party. I hope he has his footballing goal scoring boots on, if possible. I would be more than delighted come Wednesday night at the Etihad, should I say, because we need goals. We need to win that game. We need to win that game, and we can't put the emphasis and onus on the likes of Saka or Martinelli or Trossard or Odegaard. Jesus is returning to the place where, Gaz, you said he had a point to prove, possibly. Well, this is his chance to shine and remind the Man City fans and Guardiola just what they've been missing.
What a talent he is. But I have to pin you down, Rich Post Sports, on the question. Obviously, apologies, guys. Rich Post Sports is struggling tonight with the hay fever. So apologies if you see that he's coughing and spluttering a lot. It's just that time of year with the hay fever. But I have to pin you down, Richard, on that question. Do you feel personally, as an Arsenal fan, do you feel that Gabriel Jesus he has a point to prove, or do you think that maybe that is something that the media might just hype up to obviously to gather more? Not that the game needs to be hyped up to gather more interest, because it's obviously it's a battle at the top of the table. But do you feel, as in the short time he's been at your club, do you feel that he is in that mindset where he feels he has a point to prove to Guardiola, particularly, not so much the Manchester City fans, because I feel that the Man City fans appreciated him. They appreciated what he brought to the team. They appreciated that he was a young, developing player, and that he wasn't going to get the best out of him week in, week out, that it was going to take time. He was new to the country when he came to Manchester City, the language barrier, all these kind of things. Do you feel, and I do want to stress to ask you that point, that he have you seen anything in interviews when you've seen Arsenal interviews since he's come to the club? Do you feel he has, or he feels within himself he has a point to prove?
Only he would know that within himself. If you say, have I noticed and observed anything in interviews or in the press regarding having a point to prove to Pep Guardiola, I'd have to say no. The reason boss has not really seen anything along those lines. I think he's a professional, recognizes Man City as a professional unit. Guardiola, uber professional manager, great man management skills. I remember him calling out Kevin De Bruyne earlier this season. I think you may recall, call out the likes of Kevin De Bruyne in the media, saying that he can give more. I've also heard him say that he's a beast of a player, but he can give more, and he's not giving as much as Pep feels he can give. Some people said going into front of the media and talking like that was disrespectful. Well, we've seen Kevin in action, and he has brought his game back to that A grade that we know and respect. Gabriel Jesus is a professional. He's a professional. Gabriel Jesus, just to finish, Gabriel Jesus is a professional. He got plenty of opportunities within reason at Manchester City. He may have felt that he deserved more times. I remember he came on and he scored a couple of goals. He scored a brace, I'm sure, on more than a few occasions, and scored big goals for Man City in the Premier League. But it's a professional game. It's a squad game. I think that he's had a wonderful professional career thus far. He's now at Arsenal. They're top of the league at the moment. Second place on Man City, his former employers. And I think that he's really set on bringing his best for his fellow Arsenal colleagues at this juncture. And the last thing on his mind is trying to prove a point to Pep Guardiola. I think that would be something that I wouldn't want Gabriel Jesus to be focusing on as an Arsenal fan. As the 12th man, I want Gabriel Jesus to be listening to Mikel Arteta, being in tune with his colleagues, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, ready for battle at the Etihad, knowing that this may require one of the games and performances of their young lives.
Right, yeah, fair enough. Just like I say, mate, we have to cover all the bases, and obviously with this being the first visit for Gabriel Jesus back to Manchester City, I feel that is a question that, you know, some fans will be considering, at least. Like I say, maybe the media have been hyping it up. I'm no idea, to be honest, because I've not had time to watch the mainstream media recently. But I do feel as we approach the game, it will be something that will be at least chucked in the debate. Do you get what I mean? Now, obviously, I'm going to come to Arteta in a minute, mate, because I do feel that is something we also need to cover. But I'm just going to quickly go to the chat, and obviously, I can see that Millsard is saying, hi guys, Michael Harris is saying, Harrison is saying, hi guys, welcome to the show. Michael, a pleasure to have you with us, mate. Always great to see you in the chat. But also I can see that Millsard is saying, just sub to your channel, Rich Paul. So there you go, mate. You have picked up one of the regular Fandeng members of the Fandeng community to your channel. So hopefully that helps you along. And,
thank you so much. Thank you, Millsard. Thank you. Much appreciated. Thank you, Gaz, as always. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Not a problem, mate. So, yeah, and also Milzard welcoming Michael as well. And I can just see that Billy, Random Clips, has just joined the chat. Welcome to the show, Billy. Pleasure to have you with us. Obviously, Billy being a massive Chelsea fan, but I know that Billy is also very much a positive football fan. He loves to watch other games, and I'm sure he'll be watching the Arsenal v Manchester City game with great interest. Just whether he'll be watching it as a neutral, I don't know, because obviously the London rivalry. But I'm sure he will certainly be looking forward to that game as much as the rest of us. So, yeah, welcome to the show, Billy. Pleasure to have you with us. So, Richard, just before we go to Arteta, I just wanted to point out, obviously, with me being a bit, non-compos mentis, shall we say, at the start of the show, I just noticed that I'd actually shared the previous post that I'd shared, what I thought was the Manchester City team, but it isn't actually the Manchester City team. That was the Arsenal team. Arsenal was the team that played the 4-3-3 formation with regards to that FA Cup game. So yes, so that post there is actually the Arsenal team. So my mistake with getting confused. As you can see there at the bottom, it does say Arsenal. I've only just about 5 minutes ago realised my mistake. So that was the Arsenal team. I'm going to now share with you guys which team Manchester City played in that previous game where Arsenal and Man City played in the FA Cup fourth round. So this was the formation that Manchester City had, which was a 4 at the back, 2 like kind of anchoring midfield players, and then 3 forward players, midfield players, and obviously the striker. Now we can see there, according to this, we can see there that Haaland didn't. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong end. I'm looking at the goalkeeper end. Haaland was obviously a key part of that Manchester City team. So I'm reading it wrong. My apologies, guys. It was actually 3 at the back. I'm looking at it upside down. So it was 3 at the back for Manchester City, 2 anchoring midfield, and then 4 across that midfield. Obviously, as Rich Paul Sports was touching on before, a key player is Kevin De Bruyne. And obviously, I just want to touch on that with what you were saying, Richard, about Kevin De Bruyne. I have to be honest with regards to Guardiola. I think Guardiola is too ruthless with how he criticizes players. And I've got to be honest, I'm not a big fan of Pep Guardiola. I'm not a big fan. I took a dislike to him the second he came to the UK to manage Manchester City, simply because of the way he treated Joe Hart. I thought the way he treated Joe Hart was absolutely shocking, because Joe Hart had, in all fairness, yes, he might not have been the same player that he was, but he'd been a big part of the success of Manchester City getting to that stage where they was before he turned up and took over. And the way he slaughtered him, basically, not publicly, but he slaughtered him privately to shatter his confidence. He shattered the player's confidence. You don't, as a professional manager, that is, to me, the worst thing you can do, because it shows that you, as a manager, and not got your players' best interests at heart to keep them on side when you're prepared to shatter their confidence. And I don't know how well you remember that. I remember it very clearly, because obviously Joe Hart had been a big part of the England team. And I genuinely felt sorry for him, mate. I genuinely felt sorry for the lad, because, as he's showing now, he's moved on to Celtic. He's doing well up there. Yes, all right, it's not the same level of football up there in Scotland, but he's still doing the job. He's still showing in his later years of his career that he still can do a job for a top club. So with regards to your point, with regards to touching on Guardiola criticising Kevin De Bruyne, I think he's bang out of order for that. I really do. I think that is why I was kind of leaning towards asking you the question about Gabriel Jesus. And obviously you've made your point about that. Have you had anything to add to that, mate?
Well, yes, I raised the digit, I raised the finger, and what I love about you guys and Football Fan Den is exactly what you have just brought to the table. Football Fan Den shoots from the hip and shoots from the lip. You don't stand on ceremony. With dignity and with respect, you call it as you see it. I had no idea that you had such strong feelings about Pep Guardiola. I know you've expressed strong opinions about fellow Barca rivals in Spain, Real Madrid. But this particular example, let me lay my cards on the table. Joe Hart, remind the viewers and subscribers who he is now playing for, please.
Celtic.
Which division is Celtic?
They're actually about to win the Scottish Premier League title, the top division in Scotland.
Absolutely. What I recall, you may have had your ears closer to the ground and picked up on certain conversations that I was not certainly party to. What I recall is being taken aback by the levels and requirements that Pep was calling for. As you said, Joe Hart, England international goalkeeper of some repute, quality, save maker, big time player. But when you call out a Joe Hart, and all I remember from that episode is that he wanted a goalkeeper who was more.
He wanted a sweeper keeper. He wanted a sweeper.
He wanted someone who's more Fred Astaire and more Gene Kelly with his feet, a little more nimble than Joe Hart was felt to be. A sweeper keeper indeed. Edison of Brazil. Edison stepped in. He has remained between the sticks. Joe Hart has moved on to the Scottish League, a two-team league. When you're talking about fighting for honours, it's Rangers Celtic, Celtic Rangers for the most part. Joe Hart, good goalkeeper, not good enough for Pep. Was that a crime in my books? No. But as I said, I didn't have my ears as close to the ground as you. Maybe I missed some particularly scathing comments. But Joe Hart's confidence, he's a professional England goalkeeper playing at the highest level with the likes of Man City. Got a big transfer. Certainly his confidence wasn't broken. His morale not hit and at rock bottom that he retired from the game. No, he's continued to play the game, enjoy the game, represent in Scotland and in Europe. So Pep made a footballing decision, in my opinion. And to call out someone like Kevin De Bruyne, to not kick out a Jack Grealish, when people are asking, 100 million for what? Who is this guy? He's not worth it. Get him out of there. Pep Guardiola, he's got something about him. He's got something about him because Jack Grealish looks a million miles from the player that people were in a haste to tell to move on. Raheem Sterling played some of his best football at Man City, produced world-class performances at Manchester City. World-class? Not in my book, but world-class performances. And he was told he could leave when he realized he was not going to get first-team regular football. The stakes and the level of football at Man City is extremely high. Again, let me just point you to the fact that Arsenal have had the mother of all seasons by not only their standard, but others. Liverpool had to go up and beyond their capabilities just to remain close to Man City to make a title race. This season, they have fallen off. They've been found wanting. Maybe the pressure required to keep up with Pep Guardiola's Man City has taken its load and taken its toll on the likes of Liverpool, who produced absolutely outstanding seasons to push this outstanding Manchester City. Now they've got Haaland. The likes of Henry say that they can go all the way in the Champions League. I agree. Is Joe Hart better than Ederson? Not in my opinion. Is Joe Hart a good goalkeeper? Yes. Is he a Man City keeper? Maybe not. I certainly hope he is enjoying his football today, and I wish Mr. Joe Hart all the very, very best. But sometimes you need a thick skin as a professional, because no one will be pleasing all the time. Even Haaland will probably come in for some stick. If he doesn't score after 3 games of playing, he may come in for some stick. It's a tough game, football, you know, Gaz.
You make a good point, mate. But what the point? I think you're missing what I'm trying to say is, as a manager, you do not come into a new club and shatter players' confidence that has been doing of players that have been doing well. The previous season, Joe Hart had won the Premier League with Manchester City as their number 1 goalkeeper, mate. And he has not just gone straight to Celtic from Manchester City. He actually had a spell at Burnley. As also must point out to you, mate, that Manchester City didn't move on straight onto Ederson. They had Claudio Bravo, who also got slaughtered off Guardiola. All because...
And rightfully so.
All because, I must stress this point, all because he is focused on this sweeper keeper mentality. Has it won him the Champions League? Has he won anything other than what was won before he came to that club? No. The Premier League was being won before Guardiola came to that club. The FA Cup was being won at Manchester City before he came to that club. The only thing that he's done that's different, that hadn't been done and achieved before he came to that club, was winning the League Cup consistently and the Premier League more consistently, but only slightly. Only very slightly, mate. He only won the Premier League consistently more slightly than the previous managers before him. The point what I'm making, and I take all what you just said on board, and you are fair and right to say that. My problem with Pep Guardiola is that, yes, he is a quality manager that basically knows his football, knows his own mind, and knows his own tactics. But just because he has his own philosophy doesn't mean he has to shatter the confidence of players that have been there before he came along. And he's still doing that right now as he challenges players like as we just pointed out, he challenges players like De Bruyne, who we all know is an immense player. Most of us would give our left arm or right arm to have him in our team, and yet Guardiola thinks he is so superior that he has the right to shatter players' confidence by calling them out in the mainstream media and saying that he's... And the problem I have with this, mate, is because a proper coach would recognise that as Guardiola is a proper coach, but a proper coach with respect for his players would recognize, I don't want that player, but he would feed them out gradually with respect. He wouldn't just come out and say, you're not good enough to be in my team. You don't play the way I want you to play. You're out. I'm going to bench you. I'm going to make you... Clearly, I don't need to come out into the media and say anything. My actions say all I need to say, because the media picked up on how he treated Joe Hart at that time, and they were all over it. And when they challenged him in the press conferences, if you look back, you can see the interviews. When they challenged him, he shriveled. He shriveled in the press conferences, mate. He made excuses and batted the questions away because he knew that the English media was going to come after him. Why? Because he's an England international and they don't like to see England players treated like that. For me, Guardiola is a fantastic tactical coach. Absolutely fantastic. But his man management skills have got a lot to be desired.
Guys, nobody, and I say this again, nobody is perfect. Again, I refer you to my earlier comments and statements. Sometimes as a football professional, oftentimes you do need to have a thick skin. The fans can be your worst enemy, and next minute they can be fawning and adoring over you. Joe Hart did have the likes of Bravo come to try and usurp. I mean, I'm sure that If you thought Joe Hart came in for some criticism, bravo, would have endured some criticism. Just because he's not English, he would have endured a bag of criticism. He was clearly found to be not cutting it. Ederson has come in and has been found to cut it, and still even Ederson can be criticized on occasions, no doubt about it. But he's a quality keeper, as is Joe Hart. The English media, I mean, Gaz, I must say, you are a man who knows the English media like to latch on to anything they can get their mucky, grubby hands on at times. So to hear Pep Guardiola make a statement, whether he made it verbally in front of watching millions, in the press conferences, TV, newspapers, even if he hadn't, and his actions did the talking, he had to at some point explain his reasoning and why he's taking certain decisions.
No,
the fact that he took that decision, it was what it was. Pardon me?
He dodged it. He didn't answer the question. You could go back and look at them interviews, mate. He dodged it. He is intimidated by the British media, Guardiola. You must recognise that. You could see how nervous he is when he's in press conferences. And he said it when he came to the club. The media said, I can't remember the specific question they asked him, but I know they asked him some question. And he actually made a reference to being afraid of the British media, of what he'd learnt while he'd been in Spain, of how the British media treat. And he's right to say that. I have no problem with him saying that. He is right. The British media are an absolute disgrace sometimes with the way that they go after a headline just because it's an easy headline for them to go on after. But my problem, like I say, obviously we need to get back to talking about the game, the upcoming game. But my point, what I just wanted to talk to, is that a lot of fans and a lot of the football community are fooled by Guardiola's tactics and how amazing he is tactically. There's no question, as a tactician, he is immense. He is probably one of the best managers in world football, if not the best manager in world football when it comes to tactics. But I think that allows people to be blinded by the way he does things behind closed doors with regards to how he treats players individual. They're not robots, mate. As much as they are professionals, they are not robots. And yes, players do need some tough love occasionally, but they also sometimes need an arm around their shoulder. They also need, he has to accept that not every player is going to play to the exact specifications of what he is looking for. He's a micromanager, manager. That's how he manages. He micromanages.
Gaz, have you ever, and I don't want to belabor the point, but these are very interesting points that you're raising, and full respects to you. I'd love to hear what the chat, the likes of Joey and Milzord, make of this conversation. Fascinating, this debate on the rewatch. I certainly would be listening and passing this particular video on to my friends and families alike, including in Jamaica. Gaz, have you ever seen Pep Guardiola put an arm around not only his own players, but opposing players?
I've seen him do it at the end of the games. I've seen him go up to players at the end of the games and pat them on the back and thingy. But what I'm on about is it's fine when you've won a game. All managers do that when they've won a game. What I'm talking about is off the field. Off the field.
Well, here's my next question, Gaz. And it's an open goal here, and I'm sure that you don't want to score an own goal at this juncture. But the choice is yours, Gaz. Do you feel that the Man City players, quote unquote, play for Pep Guardiola and respond to his cajoling, his encouragement, and what he requires of them?
Yeah.
I agree. I would put it to you that not everyone in this world will like you as a bosom buddy. Jurgen Klopp is an outstanding manager. You feel that the Liverpool players respect, maybe love, value him, have high regard for him. You can see the buddy type relationship that he has, as well as that steely focus and devotion and concentration. But this season, he has been tearing the proverbial hairs out of his head, trying to understand why he can't get a tune out of his Liverpool team, who apparently have high regard for him as a manager. Let's fast forward to Pep Guardiola. Guardiola must be doing something right in that changing room. I saw a documentary on Pep Guardiola and Man City behind the closed doors, and he can have a laugh, but you know the outstanding thing he's got the club and football on his mind. Football requires players. If the players are not playing the game, you're stuck. He's getting a tune out of Kevin De Bruyne. He's getting a tune out of Erling Haaland. How he gets tunes out of players. Rico Lewis, Mahrez can come on and play a handful of games and blow up the place. Be outstanding. Score goals. He scored a hat-trick in the FA Cup semi-final. He's not guaranteeing of his place. And yet he's got high regard from Mahrez and from players who gets benched. Gundogan, German international, benched. When he plays, he gives his all. Pep Guardiola is doing something right. And I need to say the glass is half full than half empty. I, as an Arsenal fan, am expecting a Man City team, including the substitutes and the kit man, to be ready for the challenge of Arsenal. And trust me, they won't be missing a beat. So we've got to bring our A game or prepare to go out on our shields, because they won't be taking a backward step. I've got respect for Pep Guardiola, and I hope you have. I'd love to hear what the viewers and subscribers make of this. It's yours, sir. Keep the blows up, sir. Keep your hands high now, where I can see them.
We will go to the chat in a moment, mate. But I just have to pick up on one thing that you said there. The difference with regards to Klopp and Guardiola in respect of getting the best out of their players is one important thing that you've just made me aware of with what you've just said. The difference between those two clubs is that if Liverpool have a player like Mo Salah that doesn't turn up, that doesn't play well, they know, that player knows that Liverpool can't just drop him, that Liverpool can't just get him out the door like that, because they have a budget. They have owners with limited resources. Manchester City don't have that problem. Guardiola can be as ruthless as he likes because he knows that the owners are going to back him up. And if Mahrez doesn't turn up, or as we're seeing right now with, I forgot his name now, the player you just mentioned that came from Villa, what's he called now?
Grealish.
Jack Grealish, £100 million player. And already we're hearing within 6 months of him being at the club that he might be being sold. Would that happen at Liverpool? Wouldn't happen at Liverpool, because Liverpool haven't got £100 million to just chuck down the road and just give up on a player. They would try and get the best out of him for the best part of 3 years before they give up on that player. Manchester City can be more ruthless because they've got the money and the owners with the backing of the finances to be more ruthless. So it allows a manager like Guardiola to be arrogant with his players and to be ruthless with his players. Whereas if he was in a position like we've seen Klopp managing Dortmund, where he had limited resources and he had to manage and had to jiggle things around, and he had to play a game of chess with changing players in the summer and manage a budget of changing players, the same as he's doing at Liverpool. Did Guardiola ever been in that position as a manager? Has he ever been in that position as a manager where he's had to take into account the club's budget and limited resources? Has he ever been in that position at any club he's managed?
We are entering the hypothetical stratospheres here, and there's no need to enter the hypothetical stratospheres because we have ominous reality on our doorstep. Pep Guardiola, as day follows night, is a class operator. Has he made missteps? Could he and would he take back certain comments, even though he's made decisions that he feels are in Manchester City's interests? Of course. If you're talking about having unlimited budgets, guaranteeing that you can go in and out of the transfer market with the greatest of ease and deliver results, viewers and subscribers. The Reason Boss has news for you. C. Chelsea FC for further details. See the likes of Fulham when they thought they could throw money after money bags at a team, feeling that you can get results. Football does not work that way. Chelsea, I saw Frank Lampard. He doesn't need to go and dip into the market. They've got 3-4 squads at their disposal right now. He decided to swing the axe out with João Felix, out with Kai Havertz after a game against Real Madrid. He thought, let me be that manager. Let me give the squad a chance to shine. Let me let the players know that I have not forgotten them. In came Raheem Sterling. In came Mudryk. In came Christian Pulisic, United States of America, star CONCACAF forward. Not a goal, if I'm not mistaken, was scored. I think they lost the game in the Premier League by a solitary goal. Could have been 2. They lost the game. They were woeful. They were woeful, I say. Bags upon bags of money, and the proof is not in the pudding. I don't want to belabor the point regarding Pep Guardiola. He is not perfect by no means, but who is? What I know is he's got his players singing a tune, and they're singing a tune that will give Real Madrid plenty to dance about because they're in the semi-finals of the Champions League again. Arsenal have got a couple of days before they do battle at Etihad Stadium. I tell you something, if he was, listen, I'd be the happiest man alive if Pep Guardiola was stirring rancor and disunity and anonymity and a bag of drama in the Manchester City camp. I love it. I love it, as Kevin Keegan would say. I love it. Alas, I am expecting a Man City team focused, hungry to perform in front of their fans, and a certain Pep Guardiola, as well as friends and family. Do not underestimate Pep Guardiola. He's one of the legends of the game.
Well, with all respect, mate, you are entitled to your opinion, and I mean no disrespect when I say this, and I'm going to change the subject because obviously we're getting too much deep into what my feelings are with regards to Guardiola, and I am not disrespecting him as a manager. He is a top-class coach. I am very much aware of that, but his people skills are poor. It's as simple as that. Nobody will change my mind. And you know why? Because I don't follow the narrative. I don't follow the crowd. I think for myself. A lot of fans are influenced by the mainstream media, the majority, as you are now defending Guardiola, because I am openly criticizing him. I am one in a million that will openly criticize. I've had so many arguments with fans on social media that won't hear a bad word said against him just because he's Guardiola and he's seen as the
I'll
best.
Hear it. I'll hear something. I'll hear a bad word. I don't mind hearing a bad word about Pep. As I said, no one is perfect. When he called out Kevin De Bruyne, Gaz, when he called out Kevin De Bruyne, as a Brazilian fan, you know I'm a big Seleção fan. And I saw in 2018 when Kevin De Bruyne, just that name alone, you can add Romelu Lukaku to that 2018 performance as Brazil were ousted in arguably the game of the tournament by an outstanding Belgium team led by Kevin De Bruyne, who schooled Fernandinho, schooled the Seleção. It was a tour de force performance by Kevin De Bruyne. From that day, I wouldn't hear a word against Kevin De Bruyne. He is world class, a class individual. I love his humility as a human being, considering the standards that he plays to. When he's interviewed, if he's an example of the Belgian mentality, phlegmatic, cool, calm, doesn't go over the top, respects his opponents, very dignified in how he conducts himself. So when I heard Pep Guardiola call out this man, Kevin De Bruyne, he can do more. He can do more. He's a beast. He's a beast. And yet he can do more. I want more from him. He's better than that. He can do more. I thought, wait a minute. Pep, have you lost your marbles? What are you doing? You're embarrassing the brother. You can't do that. What are you? Now, as an Arsenal fan, I thought, well, you can have your battles, your internal battles. We'll go about our merry way. The thing is, Gaz, viewers and subscribers, it looks like he got a tune out of Kevin. It looks like Kevin took this as almost a compliment, a backhanded compliment, I think is the term, but it's a compliment of the highest order. I can call out this man and say he can do more. Why is he saying that? Because he's letting the world know I rate Kevin De Bruyne to this level so high. I can say what he's delivering and producing is not enough. I want more. He's got more. I want more. He's got more. And you know something? Kevin De Bruyne has never looked better than he's looking at the moment. And he can still find himself on the bench. The standards are high. And I tell you what, it takes craft to do that.
You make a good point, but there's still the question, why did he need to call him out in public?
Listen, these are internal dynamics. Internal dynamics of Man City.
Why couldn't he go to one side in training, put an arm around him and tell him personally, you can give me more. You're such a superior player. You can give me more. Why did he?
We don't know if he didn't. I don't know if he did. Maybe he did. Maybe he did do that. I have no idea. As I said, it's an internal Man City matter. He may have done that, and then he went public with it. He may have. I cannot testify in a court of law and say Pep Guardiola never told Kevin De Bruyne what he told the watching world. I can't say that because I simply don't know. The proof is in the pudding.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Right, so let's go quickly to the chat and see some comments from you guys in the chat. Apologies, I was getting that right there, but like I said, I do not follow the majority. There's no question Guardiola is an absolute top-class coach. I will not disrespect him as a tactical coach, but I will speak up and criticise him for his man management skills in respect of how he criticises players openly and benches players to make it publicly known that he's not satisfied with that player. And I don't agree with that. I do not agree with treating players with that kind of disregard. Unless the player is showing that they are showing that disregard towards the club or the team. I believe that a team mentality starts with the coach. I do believe that. If you're going to get the best out of a team, it starts with a coach. The team mentality starts with the coach. There's no I in team. Guardiola thinks that he is better than some of the players that he manages because he's seen as such a superior manager, and I disagree. But we're going to get away from that because we could debate this all night long. Like I say, I don't follow the majority, and that's just me. I speak up where I feel that it's needed because everybody else goes along with it, I won't. So, guys, please do hit that like button. Apologies if you don't agree with what I'm saying. But if you're a regular member of FanDen community, you know that I will speak my mind, whether it's fashionable or not, because I am not one to follow the crowd. So we've got Dylan with us saying, hi, guys. Great to see a fan getting involved. Yes, thank you very much for that, Dylan. Pleasure to have you with us, mate. And Rich Post Sports is a good friend, and we've been. This is the second time he's been on FanDen. Obviously, I'm presuming you may have missed the previous time he joined me on a match watch along. But thank you very much for that, Dylan. As I am always telling you guys in the chat, you are welcome to come on the show. But a lot of fans don't like being on camera, which is I respect. If that is your preference, that is fine. But I do make it clear that fans are welcome to come on the show, guys. If you could, please do hit that like button and consider subscribing if you're new. You can also check out Rich Post Sports channel. The link is in the description below. If you guys want to go over and take a look at his channel, I'm sure he would appreciate it. So thank you very much for that, Dylan. and welcome to the show, mate. Christopher Allott is saying that match is going to be very interesting. It certainly is, and welcome to the show, Christopher. A pleasure to have you with us. We're all looking forward to that game. Big title decider, which is why we're doing a special show tonight. But thank you very much for that, Christopher. Billy Random Clips is saying, Arsenal need to improve on their last few games. Can't be dropping points here. Yep, that's a fair comment. Do you have any response to that, Rich Pope?
Absolutely, Billy. Absolutely. These last 3 games, it's just showed that the pressure is really on. These last 3 games, 2-0 up, 2-0 up, and then 2-0 down. These are games that Arsenal, you know, if it was early season or mid-season, we'd been expected to win these games. The pressure is on, and I think they're feeling the heat and the breath of Manchester City as they come up on the rails. So, you know, it's a young squad, as I said, and they're only human. We're talking about being human, and football is played by human beings. They've got emotions. Thierry Henry made a very good point on his in his punditry duties when he said that Arsenal play maybe too emotionally, and they need to control that and balance it with passion. They get emotional when they go 2-0 up. They may be enjoying the moment, and then suddenly they realize, as I said, the mountain climber looking up and looking behind. My goodness me, how far have I come up? Oh my Lord, look, I didn't know we were that far up. Oh my gosh, what do we do now? Well, you've come this far. But they're only human beings, so of course they need to improve the performances. 3 games, points dropped when you had a good cushion, but we could have expected this from this team. This team is not a champion Premier League winning team, in my opinion. And if they get over the line in first place, it would challenge Leicester as the monumental Premier League victory of all ages. Trust me.
Well, that fair enough. You're entitled to your opinion. I think that's another debate. But I have got to just touch on with what you're saying there with the last recent results. Do you feel, Rich Paul Sports, do you feel that the last few results where you guys have dropped points, do you think that's more because of Arsenal looking over their shoulder or getting the nerves? Or do you think it's because other clubs are raising their game because we are now coming to the pinnacle of the season? And as we know, every point matters at this stage of the season. We can see teams play really poor all the way through the season, dropping points left, right and centre. And all of a sudden, at the end of the season, they'll start to put a string of results together. Do you think that other teams stepping up now, trying to scrap for those last few points, is actually the reason why Arsenal might have dropped points in these games? Or do you feel it's more a case of Arsenal players just getting a little bit nervous, maybe looking over their shoulder, and as you've described on a couple of occasions, feeling the lofty heights of the Premier League?
It's a great point, Fanden, and to be as concise as possible, you could say it's a combination of both. There is a reason why these games at the end of the season can be real table turners. Newcastle looking to secure Champions League football. Spurs also looking to secure Champions League football. Mentally.
Are they? Spurs are trying to secure Champions League. That's news to me. That is damn brand new news to me. That I thought Spurs were the experts in failing to achieve stuff.
Well, it certainly does bring.
They've certainly got more experience at failing at the end of the line, haven't they?
That will certainly bring a smile to any Arsenal fan's face at the best of times when we hear the woes of our North London noisy neighbours. A little bit more quiet at the moment. I tell you what, mentality really means a lot. And look, Southampton, top literally versus bottom. I think I made mention in one of my text correspondence to you last week, Fanden, that this is why the Premier League is arguably, or not, it's without question the most dramatic and most action-packed league, top league in the world. Because if you've got the top playing bottom, and most people are assuming, the average fans thinking, as well as pundits thinking, yeah, that's 3 points in the bag for Arsenal, no problem, get the show on the road. We know, and we shouldn't be overly surprised. We know, Man City know, QPR came knocking gave them the mother of all games as they were looking to bag the Premier League title. We know that these English teams in the Premier League are filled with a history, a culture of battling, never say die. When the whistle blows to when the whistle finishes the game, it's no quarter asked and none given. So you're absolutely right, Fanden. There is a combination of Arsenal looking to press and secure their top of the league status. But when you've got the likes of a hungry Southampton, led by Telles, very young manager, hungry, talented, and he's got players who are willing to play for the jersey. And when they go to the Emirates and they say, we are not going to leave here empty-handed. We've got the tactics. We've worked hard in training. We've prepared for this. Let's go out and give 110%. That is what can happen. We're going to press Arsenal high. That's what they did. And it reaped dividends. Our returning Theo Walcott bagged the second. We were in dire straits. We were in dire straits. And yet, Arsenal had to dig deep and match the resolve of, in my opinion, almost relegated Southampton team. I won't be surprised if they get relegated. And yet, you saw the fight, and you're absolutely right, Gaz. The fight shown by the likes of Southampton, the fight showed by a Liverpool team that were almost being embarrassed by the ease in which Arsenal were treating them at Anfield. One push by Xhaka on Trent Alexander, and then things kicked off. Things got het up, and the Liverpool team suddenly found their legs, and we were glad to get out of there with a point. How we didn't lose that game, I don't know. West Ham, mid-table, not quite, still sniffing and trying to avoid the sniff of relegation fear. And that made sure that Souček, Declan Rice, Paqueta, Antonio lifted their game, and Arsenal found, wait a minute, we've got opponents who are alive. These aren't training dollies. They're not training dummies. This is not walk in the park. There's fight. And sometimes you need to dig deep. And that's why I say no quarter asked, none given. If you want to be the champs, you need to dig deep and not just do your twinkle-toed, nice little interchanges and interplay. You've got to dig deep and match your opponents, win, lose, or draw. It's just as tough at the bottom as it is at the top when it comes to the old ticker. And Arsenal, they'll need their ticker for the remainder of this season.
But, well, yeah, you make some great points there, mate, as with regards to the draws of the game against Southampton. You guys did really fantastic in that, because it did look like Southampton was going to win that game, and you guys managed to rally in the later stages of the game and draw a level, which is grinding out results, and that's what title challengers do. That's how you win titles. You grind out results. Maybe you could teach your neighbours how to do that down the road. Obviously, you don't go away to Newcastle and capitulate conceding 6 when you are challenging for the same honours as the team that you are playing against. So maybe you guys could give some lessons to the Spurs fans on how to grind out results when it's needed. To make sure that you finish with something in hand at the end of the season. But with regards to Liverpool, obviously people know that I've got a bit of a soft spot for Liverpool. I think Liverpool just decided to let Arsenal escape with a point to lure you guys into a false sense of security in preparation for their rebuild for next season. Because I've got to say it, guys, you Arsenal fans are haunted by the Anfield factor, mate.
Well, are you talking about the 1989 Anfield factor?
I'm talking about modern day football, today's football. We're not going back centuries. We're going in the last 5, 6, 7 years. Arsenal have not been able to scrape a point at Anfield other than in the cup where you drew, I think it was 5-5 that game finished, and you still couldn't walk away with the result. But like I say, mate, that's probably just my soft spot for Stevie Gerrard rising to the surface. I love that Stevie Gerrard was probably sitting there rubbing his hands thinking Arsenal walk away with the first point that they've gathered from Anfield for many years.
Well, you know, guys, it's funny, you know, because history is made ongoing, ongoing. It's an ongoing basis. I think that that particular result, for example, I really hope and pray that this Arsenal team stays together, adds depth. That's a big thing, a big thing. Talking with my fellow Arsenal fan, Trevor Ashaye, very level-headed, deep thinker, likes to think outside the box, just like yourself, Fanden, and is not backward in coming out with his own opinions. Rather than jumping on the Arsenal team, we salute the Arsenal team, but we recognise that Arteta and the squad have done outstandingly well. But when we've got an injury to the likes of William Saliba, a young French defender, but out injured, and suddenly the wheels seemingly come off our defence. In comes a Rob Holding, competent at best. Tomiyasu out injured.
Stolen.
Oh.
Stolen, Rob Holding. Stolen. You stole him. £2 million for a player that has been at Arsenal for how long now? And you robbed him off Bolton whilst they was at their worst financial situation in many years, and Arsenal come in with a £2 million bid. What an insult. As a Bolton fan, that is something I cannot get my head around, that Arsenal want to see themselves as such a superior club, but yet you will happily go in and bid a club in financial crisis right in the knackers for one of their better players. Just because they're in a financial crisis, you got away with it. Under normal circumstances, you would have never got Rob Holding for £2 million or for Bolton. You would have been paying more like £7-8 million for that player. But Bolton at the time was in meltdown, and Arsenal took full advantage of that. And I'm sorry, as much as I have a soft spot, I do like Arsenal. They're a fantastic club, very loyal fans, great club. But I cannot forgive you guys for doing that.
Sometimes in life, Gaz, you've got to forgive and forget. Sometimes you've got to.
Would you forgive?
It's a hypothetical situation. Gaz, there are some people out there who would question whether Rob Holding is a £6-8 million defender. He is, in some people's eyes, playing like a £2 million defender. So I don't want to get.
Why have you still got him? If he's not good enough, why have you still got him after all this time? Why have you still got him if he's not good enough? If he's only worth £2 million, how has he managed to sustain himself in your team for so long? How long has he been at the club now?
He's been there a few years now. He's been there a few years. Not been a regular first teamer, of course, but you heard my comments, and I'll refer you back to it. A competent defender. World class? No. International class? No. Competent. He's a competent defender. Squad player.
More than £2 million.
Well, football is a crazy world. It's it's a bubble. It's a law unto themselves.
Okay,
we're talking about Jack Grealish, 100 million. We throw these numbers around, and it's just, it's crazy monopoly money. Really is crazy monopoly money. So I don't want to go down that road. But Arsenal needs strength in depth. Next season, we need someone of a better standard than the likes of Tomiyasu and quite possibly Rob Holding. We need someone who's maybe better than a Paulo Vieira. We need strength in depth. Trossard was a good signing. Jorginho, a reasonable, decent signing, given the time and year of the season of this particular campaign. But looking at Manchester City, I've got a guy out there, Rome, that son of a gun, a Man United fan, and I told him, look here, Rome, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Rome? I'm talking to you, Rome. Look here. When you look and compare and contrast Arsenal to Manchester City's resources, I can't cuss and decry Arsenal's achievements. It's almost chalk and cheese. Man City can put out 2, maybe 3 teams of outstanding quality in the Premier League, and they would fly high. Arsenal, when hit by key injuries, it would be problems. Saka, if Saka got injured, there's a Trossard. Who's after Trossard? It's very difficult. Kieran Tierney, good player, but strength in depth is what is needed for Arsenal. And We've always been a very financially astute club. But compared to Manchester City, it's like David and Goliath. And it's been an outstanding. I go back to it. I'd love to hear what the viewers and subscribers are saying at this point. Gaz, by all means, I'd love to hear their thoughts on the conversation. But it's outstanding what Arsenal have done thus far. And it's not over. But it's been a stellar season with a handful of defeats. They've bounced off the ropes and come back fighting. And it's not over yet. No Arsenal, no Premier League title winning drama. None. Nit. Nothing. Nothing. Outstanding Arsenal. You're not meant to be in this position. And yet you are. I salute. And next season, if Arsenal find themselves 2-0 up at Anfield, mark my words, if they find themselves 2-0 up, 1-0 up against Liverpool at Anfield, they'll look back on this experience. They'll look back and say, hey, lads, I'd love for them to be thinking like this. I certainly would be. Do you remember last season when we did a U-turn and we were holding on by the scruff of our necks, when we were desperate to get out with a point? Do you remember that? Not this season. Next season, inshallah, God willing, they'll be saying, we learnt from that and we ain't going there. We know better. Onwards and upwards. That's what I say as that 12th man.
Well, great comment there from Rich Paul Sports. But here, guys, Liverpool fans, if you're out there, Rich Paul Sports, obviously, massive Arsenal fan, and I'm sure most of you guys want to see Arsenal win. I want to see Arsenal win the Premier League rather than Manchester City. They've won it too many times. But Rich Paul Sports, from his own lips, feels that what was it? Oh, sorry, guys, I've lost my train of thought there now. Holding is worth only £2 million as a defender. So I'm presuming, Liverpool fans, you will start lobbying your club tomorrow to get a refund on Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain for some money back, considering the amount of games that Holding has played for Arsenal, who is only a £2 million player, not worth any more, and considering the amount of games Liverpool have had out of Oxlade-Chamberlain since his £35 million transfer to LFC. Big difference in finances as Rich Paul Sports tries to justify the £2 million price tag that they paid Bolton for Holding and how long he's been at Arsenal. I'm sorry, mate. I love you to bits, but I have to criticise you for that one. There is no way Holding is only a £2 million player for the amount of times that you guys have played him in your squad or in your team, should I say.
Yeah, Gaz, this is on record. This is on record, and I don't want you or anyone else putting words in my mouth. I said, according to some Arsenal fans and some fans out there, some pundits out there, they would potentially and have described, maybe they would describe Holding as a 2 million type defender, while some others would say maybe he's a 5, 6, 7 million because of the inflated prices these days. The reason boss, I'm not saying Rob Holding is a 2 million defender. I said from my own lips, Rob Holding is a competent defender, and I salute that he wears the colours and gives his all for the cause. I can ask no more. I hope you don't.
Okay, there you go, guys. I stand corrected. But even still, the Arsenal fans that claim that he is a £2 million player need to have a word with themselves. So let's go to the chat, guys. And if you are just joining us, please do it. That's like button below. And don't forget, you can also check out Rich Paul Sports, his channel, and the link to his channel is below in the description. So let's quickly read out what Dylan is saying. Dylan leaving us a long message here. Dylan is saying, PFC_DY4, Portsmouth fan. Dylan saying, fair point from both of you, but I would say that Pep knows football very well, but he digs into players too easily. Whatever issues there are between a manager and players should be kept behind closed doors. I'm presuming that's obviously he's not put closed doors, but he's put behind doors. So he's meaning behind closed doors. So thank you very much for that, Dylan. And he's obviously acknowledging our debate there with regards to Pep Guardiola. So, any thoughts on that, mate? Obviously, I want to move on from that as quick as possible because we were debating that, I think, for a good 25 minutes.
I agree with what Dylan's saying there. Absolutely. Ideally, if you keep it behind closed doors, player to player, mano a mano, or manager to player, that's ideal. Sometimes you've got to take it above and beyond. And once that respect is still there, that is the key thing. Different players respond differently. Kevin De Bruyne got particular treatment that some other players didn't. But I'd like to think that it's all fair in love and war, and that there's a healthy regard for one another, because they are all going together and banding as a band of brothers to create history. So ideally, absolutely, I agree with you, Dill. Keep things comments-wise that could be seen as offensive behind closed doors. But I'm hoping that healthy relations are the order of the day by any means necessary.
Fair point, mate. Fair point. Evan Ruddock is saying hi. How's it going, Evan? And Evan left a few comments here. Evan is saying, I think City will win 3-1. Don't know what you make of that, Rich Pope.
City would love that 3-1 scoreline, of course. Arsenal would be disappointed with that scoreline. I think that that game against Man City in the FA Cup was very interesting. And I hope there's going to be shades of that. There was a healthy regard by Man City towards Arsenal. That's what I picked up in that game. And Arsenal maybe underestimated just how much respect that Man City had for them, because they had opportunities to actually score. Because they couldn't take it, well, Man City, I think it was Nathan Ake who got the eventual winner. It was just one goal. That's all it took. I expect Arsenal to score at the Etihad because they need to win this game. Ideally, they need to win this game. It's a tough ask, and 3-1 would be. I'd like to think that if it was 3-1, Arsenal go out 3-1 on their shields, having done some damage and left a mark on the Man City psyche, because the race is still not done. Even if City win this game, there were still games to go. Let's fight every minute of every game.
Absolutely, yeah, and we can understand Evan predicting the 3-1. Obviously, Evan is a Manchester City fan, so obviously he's going to get right behind his own team. Evan actually put in there, I am a City fan, so I think City will win the title decider. So thank you very much for that, Evan. And yeah, absolutely, mate. Well, obviously, I think even Rich Post Sports would respect that you are getting behind your own club. So yeah, thanks for that, mate.
Of course, they've got the firepower. My goodness me. Grealish, Mahrez, Haaland. Absolutely outstanding. They've got the firepower to get a 3-1 victory and to score goals. Arsenal, knowing that, it may be a bit of a boxing match, because you might have to take a couple of punches, concede a couple of goals in order to come off the ropes and come out fighting and bag a couple for yourselves. So let's hope, from an Arsenal perspective, there's more than one goal scored. But if we could score one more than Man City by any means necessary, I'd be a very happy man. But 3-1, you've got the firepower, Dylan, and it's a wonderful team that you support.
Evan. Yep, no worries, mate. Well, like I say, we can totally understand Evan wanting to get behind his own team there. And as I said, Rich Post Sports would always respect that, as I do as well. So thanks for that, mate. Evan also saying Arsenal dropping points, so they need dropped points, so they need to step up to attempt to win the Premier League. Strong statement, mate. Would you agree?
Well, absolutely. This is the business end of the season. Every game has mattered in this campaign, but right now, as you said, Gaz, teams that are fighting relegation, looking for European football, they're trying to do their level best for that final push. Arsenal have been found a little wanting, but they remain unbeaten in these last 3 games. They've not lost any of these 3 games. They've fought, they've hung on, they've secured points. And points in the bags is what I'm happy with right about now. You can't win every game. There was always going to be a blip, as the likes of Gary Neville and others, Lee Dixon would have said. There's always going to come a blip. And these are the blips. These are points picked up. You could say 2 points lost, but it's a point gain because they could have lost some of these games. West Ham could have got a victory. Liverpool, for all money, good money, they should have ended up winning that game. But Arsenal somehow clung on and said, we don't want to lose this game, and we refuse to lose. Similarly, at Southampton, 3-1 down, couple of minutes of regulation time to go, and suddenly it's 3-3. Then Trossard goes on to hit the crossbar. Listen, there's some fight in this Arsenal team, but you need 3 points. Need the 3 points. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. To win the league, you need to do it.
I couldn't agree with you more, Richard. To be fair, I was very surprised at Arsenal coming back, because the game did look like it was getting away from them. And as we've seen in previous seasons, maybe not this season, but in previous seasons, Arsenal, and I'm sure you're honest enough to admit this, would have buckled under that kind of pressure normally in previous seasons with the former teams that you've had. Not necessarily the club, the fans would be well up for the fight, as the club would be, but as you know yourself, there was players in former teams of Arsenal that wouldn't necessarily have rose to that challenge as we saw you guys do the other day. So it's fantastic to see Arsenal actually showing that fight and that belief, not giving up, playing to the final whistle to get something out of the game, even when it looked a lost cause. So massive respect to Arsenal for that. I've got to say it as I see it. And like I say, on the previous seasons, I would have expected you guys to walk off that pitch with a defeat. And I was stunned myself that Arsenal rallied and managed to get something out of the game. So credit to Arsenal. Evan is also saying, evening, Gaz. Thanks for that, Evan. Evening to you, mate. Pleasure to have you with us. Evan is also saying, this season has been interesting because every team developing each month, like Liverpool, Nottingham Forest, Spurs, Newcastle. Every
team's developing well. Newcastle, if Evan's referring to teams going through evolution and developing, absolutely. Newcastle under Eddie Howe, what a job Eddie Howe has done. A round of applause for Eddie Howe at Newcastle. I mean, outstanding. In for a Manager of the Year award. He's one of the top candidates. Outstanding season. Newcastle, they want and deserve Champions League football. They've come with an outstanding run. The players that they've got at their disposal, when you look at them man for man, they're punching above their weight. And yet, they've got a lot of money behind them, yet they've chosen to spend diligently, relatively speaking, with the likes of Isak, Callum Wilson, Bruno Gomes, wonderful Brazilian talent, Sean Longstaff, Dan Burn, Botman, Trippier, Nick Pope. They have been outstanding. Joel Linton, unsung hero, Brazilian player. I tell you what, they're more than the sum of their parts, and they fully deserve. And I'm getting behind it and standing beside them in terms of their Champions League push. I want to see them in the Champions League. Thoroughly deserved it. It's a development. It's a development and evolution for a few of these teams this season. And next season, it won't stop. It will only get harder.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm very much looking forward to seeing Newcastle fans travelling around Europe. They are going to be so noisy if they make the Champions League. They are going to go to places like Rome, Madrid, and it's going to be so brand new to them. We're going to see it. I'm telling you now, we are going to see it on the news because they make so much noise when they travel to these kind of places. They've been starved of success for so long. You just know that the Newcastle fans itching and queuing up outside all the travel agents in the Newcastle area. The Newcastle travel agents are going to be bombarded for flights out to Europe next season. So I am absolutely looking forward to seeing the Toon Army travel around Europe, and maybe they could cause a few surprises for those teams like Real Madrid, Inter Milan, Juventus, Bayern Munich that. As we know, very, very prestigious clubs in Europe, but they will be very unfamiliar with Newcastle. they will be very unfamiliar, and that could be where Newcastle cause some real upsets. The fact that these clubs don't know what Newcastle are going to bring to the table. So they can do all the preparation and study that they want, but it's, as I'm sure you will agree, Rich Paul, it's, study and analysing previous results is nothing to when you actually step on that football field and take them on. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing if Newcastle cause some shocks in the Champions League if they make it. Joey is joining us with some laughing faces. Obviously, he's been listening as he's been driving home, and Joey is saying, sounds good to me. Come on, do us a refund, laugh out loud. Obviously, Joey being a Liverpool fan, so I think Joey is liking the sound of a refund for Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain.
I tell you, we got away with one there, I still can't believe that we actually got good money for Oxlade. I mean, I forgot, is he still at Liverpool?
Yes, he is, yeah. I think he'll be out the door at the end of this season now. He's just too injured, and I'm gutted because he is a player I like. But he's just too injury prone. And I think credit to Arsenal, they noticed that. I think that's why you guys let him go. That you guys had noticed that as talented as he is, he was just too injury prone, and it was costing you guys in a significant area of the pitch.
No doubt about it. But I wish him well. I'm sometimes surprised just how few injuries some players get over the course of a season and indeed their careers. They play at such a high intensity, high octane pace and rate. I'm surprised that more groin strains and pulled muscles and Achilles heels don't go. The amount of running. I mean, gosh, I watched Man United against Brighton in that semi-final. I mean, to and fro. You've got forwards making defensive runs and then offensive runs. You've got defenders making offensive runs and then defensive runs. The same for the midfielders. I'll tell you what, the fitness levels that these players have got and the support staff, the health staff that they've got on hand, absolutely top rank. Nutrition so important, something that Arsene Wenger was instrumental in introducing to the Premier League. Just absolutely outstanding. The backup support teams that many of these teams have. So hats off to one and all. Oxlade, I hope that you have a good career and that you can stay relatively injury free. It's not easy out there, but I almost forgotten that you were still at Liverpool. But wish you well, if not a speedy recovery, a recovery that is long term beneficial to you.
Yep, definitely. Joey is saying. His next comment is saying, never only a £2 million player. Obviously, that's with regards to
Mr. Holding.
Going to Arsenal. So, yeah, thanks for that, Joey. I've got to 100% agree. Like I say, I do like Arsenal. I've nothing against them. A great club, great fan base, but I'm sorry, the fact that you guys are a rich Premier League club and came in with that ridiculous bid at a time when my club was in meltdown, almost going bankrupt, seems a bid of a low, and it's not the first time we've seen Arsenal do this. It's not the first time we've seen Arsenal go to a lower league club and bid that club in the knackers for a talented player. So for me, that, like I say, that as much as I think Arsenal is a fantastic club and very passionate fans, and I'm loving what I'm seeing from Arteta. I'm absolutely loving. I'm loving that he's silencing the fans that was critical of him. But if there is a criticism I have for Arsenal, it's got to be the way you guys ruthlessly go to lower league clubs and try to get players for minimal money when you are a very rich, successful club. And I've got to be honest, I've got to take it on the chin. I have to acknowledge that maybe it's not so much the club, maybe it's your ruthless owner that encourages the club to have that mentality, because we know he's got full control of the club, and as we've seen, he demands top wedge for players that are going out, but he wants to pay the lowest transfer fees possible for players coming in. Would you agree, Rich Paul?
To a certain degree, it is a business. I don't know the ins and outs of what was involved in that particular situation. Of course, it takes two to tango. Bolton have got to say yay or nay. The players got to say yay or nay, and
Right,
it's a business.
Bolton, no. Bolton were in a position. The club was literally on the verge of going bankrupt, mate. We had 2 weeks. We had the administrators were in the club. We had 2 weeks to save the club, and the fans rallied. The club rallied. We got a new owner at the last knockings as the FA was about, or the EFL were about to serve us notice to shut the club down and kick us out of the league. And Arsenal came in and bidded £2 million for one of our best players. That is why it grinds on me, mate. It's nothing to do. It's the timing of that bid when Bolton had no choice. The administrators were in the club. And if you know anything about clubs going into administration, clubs, administrators don't care what a player's worth. If another club comes in to bid for a player, they will just sell him. They don't care what he's worth because all their job is as administrators is get money in and get the bills paid. That's all they care about. That's why administrators come into the club, to stop the football side of it and just get the money coming in, pay the bills, and try and get the club rebalanced. And Arsenal took full advantage of that. And that, for me, it's ruthless because we are seeing, obviously you're an Arsenal fan and you've admitted to me, mate, that you are not as... what's the word? We've saying it with respect. You are not as knowledgeable about the lower leagues. Well, I can tell you right now that clubs in the lower leagues are all struggling financially since the COVID pandemic, and they were struggling financially before that. So when you get clubs coming from the Premier League that bid ruthless, and I have to criticise Liverpool for it. They're guilty of it. They're guilty of it as well. They did it to Aberdeen, which is a Scottish club. They recently signed, I forget the name of the player. They recently went up to Aberdeen. Aberdeen were asking £10 million for one of their best players, and Liverpool ruthlessly bid Aberdeen in the knackers, offering £4 million initially for a player that they was asking £10 million for, and they eventually got him, I think, for about £6 million, which just, I suppose maybe I'm being a bit biased because my club is in the lower leagues. So, but to me, this is the sign of the ruthlessness of businessmen coming into football, at the top end of football. They don't care about the sustainability of the clubs in the lower leagues. They don't care about filtering the money down and making sure that other clubs can sustain the long-term future to keep the balance in football. And maybe that is where I'm being a little bit biased, because but I'm acknowledging it now. Where I'm saying that there is businessmen coming into Premier League clubs that are that ruthless that all they care about is the profit and loss. They don't care about the sustainability of the football pyramid, of the football. All they care about is profit and loss. So with respect to Arsenal, I'm giving you guys a little bit of an out there that maybe it's more of a business decision that caused Arsenal to do that rather than actually... I think if football people had been in charge of that decision, maybe you guys would have offered a little bit more. Maybe. I don't know. It's hypothetical, innit? We could debate that as a hypothetical.
Absolutely. As I said, I've text message to you regarding, what the FA feel about the lower leagues and how the billions of pounds that invested and go into football, how it's spread throughout the various leagues. And it is disappointed in one respect, but when you've got so much money in the Premier League that it's not filtered through. I don't know the exact numbers, but if they could filter through some more to the lower leagues who have got passionate fans, where footballing clubs are very integral to the local communities and local cities, then I say more power to them. But as you said, there is business interests that come into the equations, and it's about spending wisely, not being overly decadent. But the Premier League is awash with money, and as I said, it's a bubble. It's a crazy bubble. I mean, it's monopoly gone mad and gone bad. But Yeah, it's a tough one. And bottom line, let me just quickly say about Arsenal. You know, business decisions do come into the equations for any club. So if I asked, was that £2 million worthwhile? Was it beneficial? Was it appreciated by Bolton? I think the answer would be yes.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to get into that because yes, you are right. It helped. It helped to save the club in some ways, but if the owners, if our new owners that we have now hadn't have actually been prepared to buy the club, it would have made no difference. It would have made no difference. It would have just paid off some of the debts, and Bolton would have still gone bankrupt and been non-existent anymore. Just look at what happened to Bury, the EFL game. But I'm like I said, we're not going to get into that. But I will touch on what you just said. I think I'm probably being a bit unfair and a bit biased because it was my club, and obviously nobody wants to see their club lose their best players on the cheap, as I'm sure you guys, let's be honest, if Gabriel Jesus suddenly was sold at the end of the season for £10 million, there'd be an outcry, wouldn't there, by the Arsenal fan community? There'd be an absolute outcry. But I think in fairness, like I say, maybe I'm allowing my thinking to be influenced by the fact that it's my club that was in that position. But in fairness, I think the people we should be criticising are the EFL and the FA, because they're the people that are sitting back allowing this to happen. They're the people that actually can make a difference with this. They're the people that can make rules that force these rich owners to pay fairer prices for transfer fees and filter some of that money down to help other lower league clubs sustainable. So yeah, like I say, maybe I'm being a little bit biased if I'm honest, and I'm honest enough to admit that. So quickly go back to the chat. Joey's saying it's going to be tough for Arsenal going City, but hope Arsenal get something. Absolutely, Joey. Yes, definitely, mate. I totally agree. I'd like to say nothing against City. I would like to see City win the Champions League this season and forget about the Premier League, because they've won the Premier League so much in the last few seasons. With the only exception being the one season that Liverpool won it, if I remember rightly, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, definitely would. I think most fans are really rooting for Arsenal to win the Premier League this season, just simply because we're all tired of keep seeing Manchester City winning and dominating the league. And it isn't a good advert for the Premier League if Manchester City continue to dominate the Premier League so ruthlessly. So yeah, we're going to read through these last few comments. I've got one more thing to share and get Rich Paul Sports' input on, and then we will call it an end to the show. So Joey, thanks for that, mate, and I've got to agree with you. Joey also saying Newcastle well deserved to be in Europe. Absolutely, Joey, totally agree with you, mate, totally agree. It will be fantastically refreshing to see a brand new club to Champions League football with Newcastle, and I'm sure their fans will travel in numbers. Joey also saying Europe will be invaded by the Geordies. Laugh out loud. Absolutely, Joey. Yes, definitely. So totally agree with you there, mate. And Joey also saying I like Ox. But with the injuries, we haven't had the best from him. No, I think you're right there, Joey, and I'm sure Rich Paul Sports would agree. Like I say, I think that was part of the reason Arsenal were happy to see him leave because of his injury record. He's just become that player now, hasn't he? That we all know is injury prone, and I think maybe it's due to the fact that he's carrying a bit too much weight. He's always had that difficult battle where he's, not that he's excessively overweight, but for the job that he does for a team playing on the wing, you need a leaner player that's not carrying as much weight, so that less chance of there being injury. I don't know if that's true. I'm not saying it is, but I know it has been a big talking point when he was at Arsenal, whether he was carrying too much weight, and that was why he was more injury prone. Joey is saying, yeah, we are guilty of it, mate. Think it was Ramsey. Obviously, yes, Ramsey, the player that Liverpool got from Aberdeen. So, yeah, thank you very much, Joey. I massively appreciate your honesty there, mate. Yes, like I say, I think maybe I'm being, I'll be honest, I'm probably being a little bit too harsh blaming clubs for it, because at the end of the day, as Rich Paul rightly pointed out, the modern day Premier League is a business. It's all about the money. So, yeah. Rich Paul, I know you need to jump off. So if you've got any thoughts to add to those comments with Joey, and I also want to just share with you the stats for the previous game with Manchester City, and see if you want to give me your opinion on how you feel. And bear with me a second. I think I've uploaded the wrong one here. Yep, I have. Give me your thoughts on how much different you think those stats were. So I'll just let you reply to any thoughts you have on Joey's comments.
Well, look, football is a business. It is a business at the end of the day. And sometimes some decisions will be popular with some fans, unpopular with others. On the football pitch itself, the game, the beautiful game, as Pele called it, goes on and continues. The likes of Arsenal play football that the neutrals enjoy watching. And I'm just hoping that the likes of Joey and Milzoid and all the viewers and subscribers to Football Fan Den enjoy the remainder of this season. With Arsenal doing battle at the Etihad with Manchester City. We're talking about money bags. It's a David versus Goliath contest that we have in front of us, and I just hope that Arsenal put their best foot and feet forward in an engaging game. And for the remainder of the season, we've got to take on the likes of Chelsea. We've got to get Nottingham Forest, who will be fighting for their Premier League lives. I think we've got them at the last game of the season, or one from last. We've got the likes of Wolves, I think, to come. Man City, they've still got games to play. And there could be many a slip before this season is done. I just hope that the games continue to be played out in good spirit. No quarter asked, none given. It is a crazy game, but it's a passionate game. And that's why Football Fan Den and the community that is building up here. Again, salute you guys for your unstinting efforts in bringing these watch-alongs and these debates. I hope I'm welcome to have some more debates and to join you in watch-alongs in future seasons. But for this season, this could be an historic season. Without question or hesitation, Arsenal put themselves in the position where they could create history in lifting the Premier League title. It won't be easy. Right now, we are, in most people's eyes, second favourites. But being second favourites to Manchester City, I tell you what, that is an accolade in itself. But this Arsenal team, as shown at Southampton, 3-1 down, minutes to go, crowd on their back, people thinking it's all over. But just like 1966, until it is over, it ain't over.
That's true, mate. So obviously I know you need to jump off, Rich Paul, so I'm going to let you go in a minute. But just wanted to bring up these stats for you with regards to the previous meeting a couple of months ago with you guys playing City in the FA Cup fourth round. I'm not sure if you can see that on your screen, so I'll quickly read it out. In that game, shots were 8 for Manchester City, 5 for Arsenal. Shots on target, 3 for City, 2 for Arsenal. Ball possession, 54% for Manchester City, 46% for Arsenal. And also, I think we're missing. We're not got. I forgot it's not showing the pass accuracy, but that's the basic stats anyway from that game. So what do you make of that, Rich Post Sports? Do you feel it's going to be a similar game? Obviously, those possession stats showing that you guys travelled to the Etihad, and I think 46% possession away at the Etihad is a reasonably good. Or would indicate a reasonably good performance, and as we can see with the shots on target for Manchester City. They didn't run away with that game. They didn't. And the reason I'm pointing that out is because many a time we've seen them at the Etihad just steamroller teams. Even including Liverpool, obviously, who they've competed with in the last couple of seasons before this one for title honours. Even Liverpool have gone to the Emirates and had difficulty keeping Manchester City calm and not to a minimum of opportunities on goal. But you guys, from looking at those stats, you guys actually managed to achieve that during that fourth round cup game. So, what's your thoughts on that, Rich Post Sports?
It's very interesting, those statistics, and it just reminded me in that game, as the game went on and in reflections post the game, what was apparent was that Arsenal, again, maybe underestimated just how much in the game they were. These are two of the best possession teams at their best in the country and in Europe. They can actually hold on to the ball and pass the ball with the very best, very good technically. And in that game, as you can see, shots on target, 3 for City, 2 for Arsenal. Arsenal could have had more shots on target, could have had more shots and made a closer game of it because it was only 1-0. I say only 1-0 and closer. Arsenal could have, in theory, maybe possibly won that game, but because they didn't take enough shots and didn't have enough confidence in themselves to create and fashion and take the opportunities, that proved costly. I remember Nketiah missed a good opportunity, and sometimes you need to take those half chances against the likes of Manchester City, who've got a very good defense and good midfield, and of course they possess the ball so well. When you've got the ball, you've got to use it well. So those stats give me hope that this game at the Etihad will be even better. I'd like to see Arsenal with more shots on target. I want to see Arsenal find the back of the net. If Leicester can do it, and teams have done it. Ederson in goal, he sometimes has very little work to do, and then one chance is fashioned and a goal is scored. The likes of Bournemouth, I think, have scored goals against City. Yeah. So why not Arsenal? And Arsenal have got the cutting edge and the ability, I think, belief in their own performance and their own abilities to inflict damage. The hardest thing in football, in my opinion, you've got to go and reach for another lemsip. The hardest thing in football, in my opinion, the reason Boss's opinion, is to score goals. Very, very difficult. That's why Haaland, Aguero, Henry, Shearer, Cole, legendary. If Arsenal, with Jesus, who we spoke about early in the show, if Jesus can find his shooting boots and get that ball in against his compatriot, if Martinelli against his compatriot, if Saka, we know he can do it. Odegaard, wonderful player. If he can find his shooting boots, and I think Man City know it, we can make a game of this. We can make a game of this. We can make a game of this, folks. I'm looking forward to this game more and more. I just hope belief in the camp, in the face of so much naysayers, remains high, because Arteta has said we need to win this game.
Absolutely.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. You can only but try, and try is what I want to see Arsenal do, because Man City, as Evan said, they could fancy themselves, as their fans, some of their fans believe, to take this game 3-1. They've got the firepower, they've got the confidence, they've got the experience. Arsenal, enjoy and embrace the experience. You've nothing to lose. Go for it.
Absolutely. Well, I can't remember. I'm trying to think back, but I'm sure I can't. I'm sure it was it Newcastle last season. Pulled a shock at the Etihad against. I think it was in the cup. Obviously, I watch so many games, as you know, Rich Bolt, with doing the channel. So I may be getting cut, but I'm sure it was Newcastle last season that pulled a shocker off at the Etihad, beating City and. Or it might be the season before, but it sticks in my head that there was a team.
Was it Crystal Palace?
It might have been Crystal Palace as well. I don't know, but I seem to remember Newcastle going to the Emirates, the Etihad, and getting a good result, which came out of like kind of left wing, if you like. Nobody expected it, and they pulled off a shocker. Even Man City was stunned. I think it was so I think maybe it was a bit of a smash and grab, where they kept it tight, kept it 0-0, and then nicked it in the last, the last 15, 20 minutes or something. Like I say, I'm not remembering it, but I just stick in my head that there was a result like that last season that came out, like I say, as a big shock. So, but one thing I would touch on with regards to what you was just saying about Jesus, the one thing that could be a massive advantage to Arsenal going into this game is that Jesus has trained with Manchester City for a number of years, so he knows the City defenders really well, meaning that he may know the weaknesses where he could take advantage for Arsenal, i.e. He may know that a particular player doesn't like to be taken out to the left or to the right, or doesn't like to be in close proximity, for example, to a forward player. Because he's done so much training when he was at City with these players, he may know one or two little weaknesses in that Manchester City defence that, like I say, could be an advantage to Arsenal. What do you think of that?
It's a great shout. Of course, you got Zinchenko as well, former Manchester City player. So experience, you're quite right, guys, could come into the party. And of course, Mikel Arteta himself, a former assistant coach to Pep Guardiola at Manchester City. So I think there are a few things that Arsenal can take encouragement from. And there's a lot of people who just don't think. They're almost making it sound as though Man City are almost not human, and it's a done deal that they're going to win this game and win it comfortably. That sometimes can bring its own pressure. Sometimes that can bring its own pressure. So psychological games, just be aware of this. Arteta, Zinchenko, Jesus, nothing to lose. The ability that Arsenal have shown, they're not where they are at the moment by accident. They can play good football. So, Gaza, you've seen enough football to know that funny things can happen.
Oh yeah, it's a one-off game. Anything can happen, and you make some great points there, mate. With regards to Arsenal having players and obviously a manager that also knows how Guardiola works and studied under him, so that could be an advantage. So yes, absolutely. With regards to what you just said about a lot of people thinking that they may think that it's a done deal. Obviously, we just highlighted some of the points that are the key factors of players and manager that could be an advantage to Arsenal. But I think that a lot of people are judging that maybe City will win this hands down simply because based on previous seasons and how strong City have finished. Normally in seasons gone by, when they have a blip, it's normally in the middle of the season somewhere where there's plenty of time for them to make up for it and, recover points lost. You get what I mean? Recover their momentum, shall we say. We very rarely, I may be not remembering every incident, but I don't remember too many personally. I don't remember too many seasons when they've been in the title race where they've lost momentum towards the end of the season. That's normally when Manchester City are at their strongest. If they're going to make mistakes, like I say, it's normally either been in the early stages of the season or midway through the season, but we very rarely see them drop points when it comes to the running. So yes, you're right to point that out, Rich Paul Sports. Absolutely, definitely a point for what you're saying. That a lot of people are probably overlooking the advantages going into this game for Arsenal, just simply based on the fact of how many seasons in the last few years we've seen Man City finish really strong.
Absolutely, guess. Absolutely. There's going to be a healthy respect. You can picture it already. Guardiola has got a lot of time and respect, admiration for Arteta, often seen as the brains behind Manchester City's success to a certain degree. Arteta knows exactly what it takes to be a champion. He has been the apprentice in some respects to Pep Guardiola's wizard, but Arteta was invaluable and offered a great deal to Guardiola, as Guardiola himself has testified in numerous occasions regarding Arteta. I don't think he wants to blow Arteta's trumpet too high, because he doesn't want his chest pumping out and puffing out too much, because if you give them, i.e. Arsenal, opportunity to get even closer to Man City, they have the ability to take it. So it's going to be a great game. But Fanden, it's been absolutely a pleasure being on this debate. Arsenal, Man City title tilt could be a league decider, but there are games to be played, and we've got to respect everyone else in the Premier League when it comes to these games, because you cannot be assured of anything. So I'm looking forward to it. Hoping I'm feeling better regarding the hay fever, but it has been an absolute delight, Fanden Gaz, to be on the show and taking part in this debate. I'm looking forward to some more with your good self, and salutes to you with short notice to have this title big hit out, Manchester City versus Arsenal. You've done very well, football Fanden. So I salute Gaz, and to Mrs. Fanden, I salute good health, good strength, and to the victor, the spoils. After 38 games, you finish where you deserve to finish in the Premier League. Let's see how things pan out.
No, well, like I say, mate, been great having you on and sharing your thoughts, and a pleasure to have a good debate with you, obviously, with regards to it, and a bit of banter as well. We had to have a bit of banter just to mix it up, obviously. Of course. maybe some Arsenal fans will react to some of my comments, or which is fine. Bring it on, not a problem. But as you guys know, we want to make the show entertaining. If we just stuck to being yes man, it wouldn't be a very entertaining show. So hopefully we'll get some views leading up to the game over the next 2 days on the show, as this will obviously be now go on the channel. So hopefully we'll get some a few more views coming in.
Absolutely.
And if you guys are watching this after it's been finished recording live, please do drop your comments in the chat below, in the comment section below, because we're always happy to hear from you in the live chat and in the comment section after live chat. So feel free to drop your comments. We're going to just quickly go to Joey and let him have the final word. Joey is saying it's going to be an interesting. It's going to be interesting who gets top 6. Absolutely, Joey. Yes, I think we're in. We've had an absolute treat of a season with the amount of teams that have come from nowhere that we just didn't expect to be up there in that European spots and fighting for European spots, and obviously a few surprises as well at the other end of the table with clubs that have gone down. And Joey is also saying, thanks guys, great stream, love your views and opinions. Thank you very much, Joey. And
top man, Joey. Top man, Joey. Top man. Thank you very much, Joey. Thank you for your ongoing support. Always a pleasure to see you in the comment section and supporting Fanden and myself on with Richbo Sports and being on Fanden. The football community is all the better for you. I salute you. You are a hero, a dad, and a scholar. Joey, I raise a thermos flask glass to you, sir.
Absolutely, Joey, a top class member of the Fandom community, and it's always great to see you in the chat, mate. You always come and be supportive and add some humour and also some add to the conversation with your comments and letting us know your thoughts. So thank you very much, Joey. It's been a pleasure having you involved tonight. And apologies, guys, I've not involved the chat as much tonight, but like I say, as you guys know, we do a lot of match watch-alongs at the moment on the channel. Until we get a bit further along, we will be mixing it up with other stuff in the future. But at the moment, like I say, we've been doing a lot of match watch along. So thank you very much to Rich Paul Sports for coming on tonight and engaging in a different topic of debate and a little bit of a different aspect to the channel. So yeah, thank you very much to all you guys that have dropped in. Like I say, I will get back to replying to your comments in the next live stream, but it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, Rich Paul Sports. Guys, don't forget, if you want to check out Rich Paul Sports channel, the link is below in the description. I'm sure he will appreciate you going checking out his channel. Yep, and the final word goes to Rich Paul Sports. Obviously, it's been a pleasure having you involved today, and hope you enjoy the game on Wednesday.
Arsenal viewers and subscribers, be prepared for Arsenal to leave it on the pitch. This Arsenal team is one that I am as proud as punch to support. The likes of my good friends Andre Parchi, Trevor Ashayi, Arsenal men good and true. We don't listen to the naysayers, those who are all too quick to write off Arsenal. You're blowing it, kid, you're blowing it. Chokers, butlers, it's all over. No. Chin up, chin up. Be yourselves. Find it within yourself. Leave it on the pitch. Good preparation. Consider yourselves heroes, each and every one of you. You have had an outstanding season. Champions League football all but guaranteed. The likes of Brighton, who I do hope find a top 6 berth under De Zerbi, playing outstanding attacking and defensive football, mixing the two wonderfully well. Manchester City are a uber team, a stellar team. To beat them, you need to bring your A game. They've had to bring their A game to the second half of the season. It's almost chalk and cheese how they're playing now compared to what they were showing in the early part of the season. This is now the business end with a capital B. Every team that turns up, we hope they'll leave it on the pitch and create problems for Man City. As an Arsenal fan, I want them to create problems when they meet Manchester City. I expect problems from the likes of Newcastle, Wolves, Nottingham Forest when Arsenal come calling. But this is why the Premier League is arguably the best league for drama, passion, and no quarter asked and none given. Keep it locked and docked. Football Fan Den, Rich Paul Sports, shooting from the lip and shooting from the hip. Let's get it on. Ding ding. Round 2. Whenever you're ready. Man City, we're ready. Let's go.
Absolutely. So thank you very much for that, Rich Paul Sports, and also to you guys that have come and got involved in the chat today. It's been a pleasure as always, and hopefully we'll see you guys again soon. Take care. That's it from us for now, but I look forward to seeing you guys on future shows, and enjoy the rest of your week, guys, and hopefully you enjoy the upcoming game with Manchester City taking on Arsenal at the Emirates. And I think, guys, yes, as Rich Paul's pointed out, there is other games to come after that, but this game could be where it decides who gets the title. So we will have to wait and see till Wednesday, but we look forward to that. And like I say, guys, thank you very much to all you guys coming getting involved. Been an absolute pleasure as always. Take care, enjoy the rest of your week, and I look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Bye for now.
Cheers, guys.